Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Today we are going to talk about everything that I read in April and everything that I would like to read in May / like my ongoing TBR. I have a bunch of books that I feel like are repeats from the past few videos, so I'll kind of just like go through them really quickly and then talk a little bit more about the books that are newer to my TBR. So first we're just going to hop into the April wrap up. So in April, it was actually a very successful reading month, which is crazy because I had a lot going on, which I'll talk to you after I talk about my wrap up, just so we can get to some bookish things first. But I read 8 books, which is the same amount that I read in January, which was a really good reading month for me. And this month was too. I had a lot of crazy ratings. I typically read a lot of like 3, 4, 5-star books, but I had a 1 and a 2-star book in April. So we were just kind of all over the place with the selection of books. Yeah, it was a little crazy. So I read 8 books. My average rating was a 3.25 stars. My average rating was 3.25 stars. And I read 2,154 pages, which I'm pretty proud of. That's a good amount of pages. And I currently am on 27 books read for the year out of my goal. My Goodreads goal is 60, which I know I'm going to surpass because right now I'm 7 books ahead, but I didn't want to put too much pressure on myself. Overall, it was a pretty good reading month. The quality of the reads, though, definitely varied. So let's get into that. I'm going to start off with my highest rated book, which was In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park. This was one of the books that I wanted to read for my 24 books of 2024. And it's essentially the story of a woman who grew up in North Korea and ended up escaping with her mom, and ended up reuniting with her mom and her sister later on after they go through the most horrific, insane journey I have ever really heard about. It is insane, honestly, because there's really not a lot of redundancy in this book, and it's a pretty good length, and there are just so many things that kept happening. And I think the hardest part about reading this was, like, this was not fiction, and things just kept happening. And because I've been reading a lot of fiction, I've been like, oh, you know, I'm sure there will be a resolve soon. And then something even more horrific would happen to her. It's definitely not a light read. It is hard to read at some points. But the story is one that I think so many people should read because it truly gives you a better perspective on your own life and, you know, the things that people do literally just in order to live. So this story, it's a very well done book, and it's just enlightening. And what I think is really amazing is I've watched a lot of videos where Yeonmi Park speaks about just issues, and she has a very, very optimistic worldview. And so to me, it is just amazing how she went through so much, like so much, and has the most optimistic view. And it just really changed my perspective on a lot of things. And yeah, it was a 5 out of 5-star read for me because it was so emotionally impactful, and I definitely would recommend. And then my first 4-star read that I'm going to talk about for the month was It All Comes Back to You, which is a romance journey, or romance, it is a journey, but it's a romance novel. Essentially, this girl grew up in a very hard home life situation and is super academically intelligent and ends up taking college classes at the age of 16. She gets paired off with a boy in her class for a group project, and this boy ends up finding more about her home life, and they become really, really good friends. They meet when she's 16 and he's 21, and then the journey takes them up like through their 30s. So it's a very the time span is pretty long, but there's just all of these moments. You watch both of them grow in different ways, and then there's also, you watch his family grow, because his family was a really cool part of the story. What I appreciated a lot about this book is there was an age gap, but they never made it weird when the age gap was inappropriate. So nothing really was like weird until, nothing was weird ever, but nothing was really insinuated that they may have feelings for each other until they were mature enough to do so. So you just kind of like see how their love evolves, and you see the growth of the female character in a lot of different ways, and also the male, and you see other things go down. There's a lot that goes on in this story. It's not just the romance, which I don't love just romance in a book, so I really appreciated that. It was definitely well done. It wasn't a 5-star for me, but it was a 4-star. It was really good and I really liked it. We also read that for my group book club with my friends. My next 2 4-star reads are A Touch of Ruin and A Game of Retribution. I do have a whole vlog of me reading up through A Game of Retribution. So I read the first 4 books of this series and filmed all of it for you. So you will see that part 1 coming soon, and then I'm going to do a part 2 of the last few. I thought I could do all of it in a short time span, and a lot happened. A lot happened, so that just didn't happen. But anyway, I got to A Touch of Ruin this month, and look at the tabs. Look at the beautiful tabs. I'm so obsessed with tabbing these books, and I've been picking out tab colors that match the covers. I only have Persephone's perspective, but A Game of Retribution is Hades' perspective, and I did like this one a lot. It didn't hit as hard as A Touch of Darkness. I really have been enjoying the story. I've enjoyed seeing Persephone's growth as a person and in her career, and Hades and Persephone's relationship just like evolving. And I've always just loved through this whole series reading, because there's a lot of things that happen in their relationship. So they are mythological gods, you know, but a lot of their relationship issues are just real. Like, it's just real. Well, the core of it, the things that happen to create their issues, you know, very much giving Greek god. However, the core of the issues, I could relate to a lot of them a lot, because they're things that I've personally thought in my head at different points in my life. So this book is very healing for me, because I have been reading through like what happens, what Persephone thinks, and then what Hades thinks in his perspective, which is very enlightening, and then seeing how they resolve it. And it's brought a lot of closure to like my own thoughts that I have had, and just like situations that I didn't really know how to deal with before, and just like it brings the reality to those things. So I've really loved reading their relationship for that reason. And there's just like a whole nother level that's happening in the story as well. In Hades' perspective, there's a lot of things like kind of bubbling up politically within their realm. And so there's just so many things happening in this story that I just enjoy it as a whole. I love the magic. I love Hecate. I love Hermes as a character. Hermes is like my favorite. And I'm kind of bunching the 2 of them together because they're essentially the same story, just from different perspectives. And there are definitely things that, it was funny because I did go to meet Scarlett St. Clair, and she said that this was actually everyone's least favorite book. So that was funny, but I actually really liked it. So I liked those 2 a very good amount. The rest of the books I've already gotten rid of, or I read on my Kindle. So the first one that I will include is Rule Your Day, and I picked this up. I got this randomly from work, and I didn't really know what it was about. I was just like, oh, you know, this sounds like a good motivational book. I didn't know. It is faith-centered because it is by a pastor. I didn't really know that at the time, but it doesn't bother me because I do believe in God and all of that, so it didn't really bother me once I found that out. I had a lot of critiques about this book, but ended up still coming out of it in a very positive mindset. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars for that, because I got laid off the day before I started reading this book. So I was kind of just like mad and like, you know, I do need to rule my day, because what is my day gonna look like now? So it was a good time to read something that was a little bit more self-help-esque. But this particular book, I like the messages, you know. It was like there were 6 components of like what he talked about, and I like the overall messages. I don't really love how he executed them though. There was a lot of like paraphrased scripture, which my personal opinion, like if you're going to refer to scripture, like I would rather have a quote than a paraphrase, because just like a scientific article, like I would rather see what the literal science is. So I would rather see like the literal scripture. So that's just a personal thing. I did not really like the paraphrases. The man has, his writing style is very much giving he has a god complex, and I don't really know anything about this person in real life, like at all. But a lot of it just came back to him, and I understand that that's how you experience things, but the dynamic of like him referring to God and scripture and then bringing it back to himself in like so many circumstances, or being like my friend, my everything, my I. It was a lot of my's and I's, and there was just something about it that I was like, just the way it was done just didn't really sit with me right. That's the bottom line. I just didn't really love how it was done, and I don't really know if there's like a fix for that, but it just was not really my cup of tea. But again, I gave it a 3 out of 5 because I came out of it feeling very positive, and I needed that. So yes, I already passed that book on, but it's a very pretty cover. So the next book I listened to, The Paris Apartment. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. I think if I read it, I probably would have given it a 4 out of 5 stars, but honestly, I hated the audiobook. There was just something about all of the accents were very poorly done by the narrator. No tea, no shade, just not good. Okay, it wasn't good. And I did not love that. So that really brought it down. But overall, I thought that the interweaving of all their perspectives was really cool. And I was intrigued. Like I did want to know what happened in the story, but like I just got so fed up with the accents towards the end of it that I was like, oh my God, there's so many other things I would rather listen to than this. So unfortunately, I don't really think, like, it sucks that I have to give it that rating because it's the audiobook, but to be fair, I did rate the audiobook version. So next book I actually got when I was in Hawaii. I wanted to read something that was like specific to Hawaiian culture, and I did not pick right. That is fully my fault. There are so many other books that I probably could have picked. I wanted to read more of like Hawaiian culture, and so I decided to pick up this book because it was the most interesting one out of all of them that I could find. And I only read the back, which the back was very intriguing. But as soon as I started it, I was like, this is a mistake. So the book is Obake, which I think I'm saying that right. It's a Japanese origin word, Ghost Stories of Hawaii. And the whole book was written by a journalist who had an interest in ghost stories, anything paranormal, different traditions of spirits, and just life beyond the living in other cultures. So he wrote a lot about stories that he heard from many people around Hawaii, and like he decided artistically that the way that he would write, it's a collection of short stories, by the way. It's a collection of short stories, and each one is like totally different from like different people that he heard them from. But his artistic choice was to write them as if he was there, and he clearly was not there, and you could tell. So it was really hard to get through. It was just very like, the whole style, it felt like an old journalist writing about things that he didn't actually know because he wasn't there. So, and that's just what it was. Anyway, I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. I had a really hard time getting through it, and I really wanted to like it, but I just couldn't. The stories also weren't scary, which they were marketed as scary, and I just did not find them scary because the writing was bad. So yeah, I think he probably was a good writer otherwise, but I just don't like that he chose to write from his perspective and did that poorly. All right, and then the last book that I read in April is Like a Mother. This is a book that is marketed as a journey through science and culture. The whole title, it's here. Okay, you can see it. It's a feminist lens through culture and science and all of these things. And there's all of this praise about this book being heavily science-based. I think I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet because I've ranted about this book repeatedly. I think that this book should have been a memoir with a few scientific references because it was very much about, it's from a journalist and her perspective on pregnancy. And she makes a lot of references to her own pregnancy. Totally fine. I just think that the whole book should have been a memoir because it's very opinionated and there was a lot of things that were dangerously stated as fact when they are opinion. And I think that anyone that does not have very much education on pregnancy could start to believe that these things are fact when they're not. And I don't like that. I don't like stating your opinions as facts when they are not facts. Like, there's a clear difference, and that may be your reality, but like, I think we should categorize it as what it is. And I think that it should have been a memoir and not a written, like, marketed as a scientific book, because it is genre wise, like on Goodreads, it did have memoir in there, but it had so many things before that. And on the front of the cover of the edition that I had, it said that it was a must read for basically everyone. And I do not think that this is required reading for anyone, literally anyone. There was a point that she was trying to make which had a lot of validity, and I just think it could have been done better. And even like the scientific things that she did quote, the sources were very obscure. And I just think that there was probably better information that she could have found somewhere. I just think there could have been better sources. I think there could have been, it just could have been done so much better. And that's all I'll say on that. It was a 1 out of 5 star read. I actually DNF'd it. I didn't even include the full page count in my number of pages. It is a DNF. I could not get through it because I literally could not stand it. Done. Absolutely done. So that book thoroughly enraged me, but we're gonna move on. Okay, so that is everything that I read in April. And all of their ratings. So we're just gonna quickly go through the May TBR, and the reason why I decided to do these 2 videos together is because honestly, I have said this so many times on my channel, I don't read summaries or things about books before I pick them up because I like to be surprised for the most part. I like to know as little information as possible. Anyway, I like to know as little as possible, so this is basically just rapid fire. Okay, we'll start with the new books on my TBR. So this month, my book club is reading Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I haven't read anything by Ali Hazelwood yet, so I'm excited to read this. I would not normally pick this up on my own, so this is a great, like, out of my comfort zone read for me. I also want to read Before I Let Go because I really want to get into Kennedy Ryan. She's so highly talked about, and I just want to know what the hype is about. So I did want to read this last month, and I can't remember if I mentioned it, but I really want to get to it this month. Also new on the TBR is the second book that Yomi Park has written, which is While Time Remains, and this is kind of like a book on her opinion of the state of things in the US and what she thinks that we could do better. And I'm very intrigued by this because obviously where she came from was not great. So would love to read this. I also am buddy reading with Kaylee. Hey girl. I'm buddy reading Juniper and Thorn with Kaylee. This is another book that is on my 24 books to read in 2024. So we are just making progress on that list like so well. And actually the last one is too. That one was on my list too. So we're going to get to 2 books that we wanted to read in 2024 this month, which I'm really excited about. And then reoccurring things, I am still working on Mexican Gothic, which I actually am getting into now and starting to like. I'm 37% through and it's starting to get juicy. I've been told that this isn't really like Silvia Moreno Garcia's best book, so we will see. Sorry if you can hear Lola in the background. She always likes to play while we film. I've heard that it's not her best one, so I am really excited to see like how I like this one, and I think I'm going to continue to explore like other works of hers because I do like a lot of aspects about her writing. I also am farther into Pride and Prejudice, which has taken me this whole year to read so far. I'm on page 102, and the past month I actually really got into reading this, so I definitely still have to be in a mood to read it, but I'm really loving it, so gonna continue to read that. Maybe we'll finish it this month. Then I am going to be filming the second part of the Hades Persephone vlog. So I'm going to read A Touch of Malice. I'm also going to read A Game of Gods and A Touch of Chaos, my beautiful indie edition signed edition that I got from the meet and greet, which I love. And it's just, other than that, that is my whole TBR for May. I have not posted a video in a few weeks now. I think it's been like 3 weeks. And that is because, like I mentioned before, I got laid off. I went to Hawaii. I also ended up going back to see my parents because I had the time. So it's just, it was a crazy month. I'm doing a lot of navigating of like what my next step is, what I want to do now. And yes, so I will keep you updated on that little journey and maybe do a vlog about it. We'll see. But other than that, that is the current state of affairs in terms of reading. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.